What's goody, guys, and welcome back to Generations of Grace. I'm Dira.
And I'm Karima. Peace and blessings, y'all.
And this is episode 2, Evolving
Relationships.
So, we're going to jump right into it. We are starting off with my adolescent relationship with you. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some key times. Like
Boyfriend.
Okay.
Responsibilities, your first job.
My first job, my 16. Let's just
start there.
Start 16. Okay. So 16, I think it was definitely when parents want to say you start smelling yourself, you start,
15.
Okay,
late 15, but 15.
We can go with that.
Okay.
But I think our relationship was a little tense.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little not chaotic, but I think it was a growing curve for both of us, because I'm now coming into, teenage. Ooh, boys look interesting, but also who am I?
Wanting to be outside,
wanting to be involved in things, wanting to be social. And then you have a mom who, okay, now I need to be more mindful because she is interested in boys and boys are looking at her. She's growing into herself. She's becoming a young lady. On top of, I was an athlete, so I'm always
and very popular.
Yeah, so always being into something, getting into something.
Right.
Not necessarily bad, but just
not bad at all. Just active.
Yeah,
involved.
Very, very involved in school. But I think our relationship was, I don't want to say dictator, but you definitely were, these are the ground rules. This is what, and I think now looking back, I'm like, it needed to be that way. So that way you were redefining like the values and everything that you instilled in me. Because now I'm at a different age.
Right.
I'm experiencing
where you're looking at your own things you're looking at your life now. Yes. Not just your life as my child.
Exactly. So I think being able to kind of like, you gave me, I think it was a good balance, because you gave me enough leeway and freedom to be able to experience things, but also you were present. You were there. You were, who are you going to be with? What time are you coming in?
Friends. I didn't play that when it came to friends.
Especially because, those same friends are my sisters now. We've had
definitely
20 plus years.
And I really think that the way that I upheld the importance of the people that you were around is kind of what directed you to where you are now with those same friends.
Yes.
Because there were some instances where I had to let it be known that you will not interact, associate, communicate, conspire. None of the above. None of the above will occur with that individual. And I meant that.
Okay. Yeah, she definitely set healthy boundaries. She set boundaries that I think were necessary and protected me from getting into situations that a lot of people, at that age and at that time, when you don't have that guidance, you don't have that direct connection with your parent, you're liable to fall to those situations. So again, I'm grateful for it. I think it definitely was trying for us because, like I said, we were both in a growing stage of trying to figure, this new step.
Oh, definitely.
So I was spicy.
I was spicier.
Yeah, I think my attitude was definitely, my level of maturity wasn't there. Definitely wasn't there because.
But you weren't immature.
I wasn't immature, but as far as communication wise,
right.
I don't think I was able to receive what you were trying to teach me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that my dad always said, from when I was a little girl with sports, and you apply it to life as well,
Mm-hmm.
you always want to be coachable. You always want to be, always want to be able to be taught. And the biggest part of that is getting rid of your attitude and really just being able to like check in and listen. And so, at 16, you think you know everything. You think you got your life figured out. You think you know what you're about to do.
You think you're ready to be an adult.
You think you're ready to be an adult because 18 is knocking at the door, and it's like, baby girl, sit down. No, you're not. Like, you have no idea what you're signing up for. And now thinking back, I would go back.
I know you would.
Because what? Like, being 16.
The adulting?
Yes, the adulting is, my favorite thing to say. Adulting is ghetto. I'm sorry. It is ghetto.
We're going to cut out that ghetto part.
We are going to, but
I get it.
So, yeah, I think during that stage, for sure, in high school, I know that we had a lot of, because I feel like I was testing boundaries. I was testing, like, my freedom and testing, like, my own identity, too. But in doing so, it was like testing you.
But you know what? You were testing, but I think even though you really wanted to, you never pushed the boundary.
Okay.
To the extent that I know other children have.
Okay.
You never did that. You wanted the autonomy.
Yes. The independence.
You wanted that independence. But when you got it, it was very rarely that you abused it.
Okay.
It was very rarely that you abused it. You had your occasion, but very rarely did you abuse it.
I can agree to that.
I can say that, like I said earlier, I trusted my children to do the right thing. I trusted my children to do what I knew they were going to do. And so in her adolescent years, while she thought she was getting over, she wasn't.
I mean, I think we all have those moments where we think.
Oh, we all do.
We're just so sure, oh, I got this, or, okay, when I think back to moments where I'm like, I knew what I was doing could lead to conflict, or it could lead to a conversation with us, or it could upset you not upset you to like the point where, I'm getting extreme consequences or something. Nothing like that, but more so a conversation, because at that point it's like, all right, we over you're not getting spankings no more.
Right. You might get punched, but even that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Because when was your last?
Girl, we're not gonna talk about it.
When was your last? Do you remember? I don't remember.
Yes.
When was your last whooping?
It wasn't a whooping. You fought me. You don't remember?
No.
Girl, when I came in late, I went to the fair for a date.
No, nothing happened. I checked you immediately.
How did you check me?
Oh, I did hit you. You're right. I'm sorry.
What? Dog.
Okay.
So
you got that one.
Exactly.
I just popped you. It wasn't major.
Okay,
anyway.
Let's go with that.
But she never did it again.
Never did it again. You learn your lesson. So I mean, we do not condone violence, and my mom was not a violent person, but I think she meant business. She was very direct with her approach on her rules, like period, point blank. This is what I'm saying. This is the rule. When you go around it, these are the repercussions. Right. This is what, you know what I mean? And ultimately that sets you up for life, because you do stuff, there's going to be repercussions.
Exactly.
Like, you're going to face,
you got to hold yourself accountable.
Period. So
you have to.
So now transitioning into, because I feel like once I left for school to go to college, obviously we had a lot going on during that time in our lives, but I feel like we became closer.
Oh, definitely.
Because I think me going away to college and really like our family's very close.
Yeah. So
for me to up and move to Texas, excuse me, and the family to still be back on the East Coast, like that was a shocker for both of us. For the whole family, but for our dynamic as well, because you had to trust me being away from, from home. I need some water, Lord. But just being able to, kind of like you said, grow in my autonomy, really figure out who I am, and I feel like that's when the butterfly came into effect more so because now I have the freedom. In college, mommy's not waking you up. Mommy's not telling you to do. Granted, because you already set that in. You already set that, like, it was already embedded in me, the routines and handling business, doing what you're supposed to. Being in college, like, it wasn't a big deal for me to get up and go to class, do what I need to do. Like, that was fine.
I think just to roll back, I think what also helped was for you, I think it started even sooner to have that grasp on being out on your own, because you didn't sit around waiting for me to say, here's money, here's some money.
Yeah, no.
You got a job.
I got a job.
You got a job. She got her first job.
Was it 15?
You were 16.
Okay.
You got your first job at 16.
Yeah.
And you did well in your first job. And that is when you actually started driving more.
Yeah. Driving by myself. I was driving. And remember, so if we're just still talking about adolescence, this is another way that I feel like you instilled like responsibility in me, because remember prom, I paid for all my stuff.
Yeah, you did.
Like my dress. Granted, prom was not like how it is now.
No.
With the girls with the glamour and the big dresses and
runways
full face of makeup and I think I got my dress from BB.
Yes.
At the outlets, I got my dress from BB. The shoes were Aldo, because let's be very, very let's be very clear. Aldo was that store for shoes for a while. And then I think that's when I initially cut my hair into the Rihanna bob. So I had the bob going on. And then as far as makeup, I didn't wear any makeup. I literally mascara, lip gloss, and eyeliner.
You were very natural.
That was it.
Yeah.
Mascara,
and that's
lip
all
gloss,
you used
and eyeliner.
to do back then.
Yeah. I mean, again, I learned that from you, because my mom was not a heavy makeup. Me getting into makeup was me exploring on my own, going off to college, because
I'm gonna get up and go.
All natural.
I'm gonna look good, but I'm getting up and going. I just my time is spent. Otherwise, I can't spend my time trying to get ready and putting on.
I feel you.
Beating the face, as y'all say. I ain't got time for that. I'm gonna enhance my eyes and my lips and make sure my skin look good, and I'm out the door.
I know that's right. So I definitely think you instilled that responsibility. So I think that was another, growing part, because now you're looking at it that, if anything, increased the trust that you had in me, because now I'm driving your vehicle. I'm going to and from, work. I'm maintaining my grades. I'm also in sports, so being able to balance all of that. And
she
then, did. Making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
And she was still there to help out with her siblings.
Yeah, at home, being present at home. Right. So I think it propelled us to just be closer when I got to college. When I was 17, 18.
Yeah, because I knew you were going to be away, and it wasn't. I had to trust in what I instilled in you and what your dad instilled in you. We had to trust that we did the best that we could do, and we did a great job in preparing you for outside life. Because I think that's what a lot of times is missed.
Yeah.
You have that tyrant parent who, it's my way or no way. And, and then you have that parent who's, you're going to fall and I got to catch you. And then you have that parent that's like, you know what? I did everything I could do. You got to grow up. I got to trust that you're going to go out there and do what's right for you and represent your family. And I think that's where your father and I were.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think that balance is healthy, just because, like you said, trusting. Like, you really have to you have to let a person kind of like
be
fall
themselves
sometimes, be themselves, experience, because I think that's also a big part of experiencing life. But also, like you said, and this is something that I'm, touch base and I think of all the time with MJ, because I always want to protect him. I always, but I have to think and realize, A, I'm raising a boy. So protecting him and coddling him is not helping him prepare for real life.
Right.
On the flip side of that, he can get in, let him experience stuff, but just follow up and let him know, like, I'm always here for you. I'm always, X, Y, Z.
Right.
But it's also, like you said, the key part for parenting is preparing kids to experience life. Like, you know what I mean? Preparing them, not keeping them from things, because a lot of times we tell them, no, I don't want you to go into debt by having all these credit cards, but we don't educate them on how to save, how to balance, how to, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
how to be financially stable.
Yeah, all of the above. So, which is another reason why it is important to have a 2-parent household.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyways, okay. So you want to go into adulthood? Because adulthood, we struggled. I think this was obviously another growing curve for us. Another test of our relationship, because now we're in Houston. The whole family's in Houston. And I think I transferred to Lamar at this point. So still working. Like, I think I always. One thing about it, Karima,
you gotta have a job.
You gotta have a job. Like, and one thing about it, I'm gonna always keep a job. So job, working. If I'm not mistaken, I had 2 jobs. 2 jobs, active on campus, and school, and social life. And I think at this point, I feel like our relationship was coming from a space of, I don't want to say worry, but I think you were a little like, okay, what are you doing? Like, what's your goals? Like, what are you doing next in life?
Always, because I had an expectation of you. You had an expectation of yourself. And
I don't think they aligned.
They did not align.
They did not align. And I don't think we realized that our expectations didn't align until almost when I went to New York, like years. Like it was definitely. It wasn't until then.
It wasn't until you graduated. You came home for a minute, and then you made this decision that you were going to New York. And I think that was our turmoil.
Yeah, because you were just like, you have this great paying career. You have a vehicle. You're staying at home to save money. Like, what more do you want?
Right.
And it was just like, I was not happy. And one thing that Dad always like kind of instilled is being happy. Like, tomorrow's not promised. So do what makes you happy.
Which is crazy, because her father and I look at life differently.
Very differently.
And
y'all are 2 different
people. Some people would be like, how?
And how long have you been married?
30 years.
And how long have you been together?
38 years.
Yeah. Goals. Okay. No, I definitely, I don't know. I feel like because our expectations, like I said, they weren't the same. They were not aligned whatsoever. And we weren't necessarily, because I think I was so caught up on what I wanted to do, and you were caught up on
what I wanted
what you wanted me to do, that we were not communicating effectively.
Not at all.
We were not communicating effectively about really anything. So it was a lot of like tension between us. And a lot of times we're just like, I'm looking at you like, why are you acting this way? Why do you feel this way? Why are you being? And it's built up, frustration for you, because you just want to see me do great. You just want to see me do well in life and be successful. Whole time, I'm just like, Mom, chill. Like, let me live. And it's like, obviously when you bump your head and you fall down and you learn all these lessons, where do you go back to? Who do you call up? Like, Mom and Dad, So, I definitely think that span of early adulthood, like my early 20s. Ooh, I know I drove you crazy.
Yes, you did.
I know I did.
You did.
Because I was definitely in my butterfly bag. Like, I was just trying to, I wanted to experience everything. I wanted to do I wanted to do different things. I wanted to travel. I wanted to,
it was in your mid-20s.
Yeah, literally.
You just were like
from 22, 23.
I'm going to St. Lucia to a
27.
friend's wedding, and then I'm going to go move to New York, and I'm going to get a dog, but I'm going to also do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to train, but I'm not going to do this. And I mean, it literally was like that. And
a little chaotic.
Her father and I were constantly like, what the HE double hockey sticks friend you can keep type of situation.
That was cute.
And
that was cute.
That was cute. And she really she was seriously in a butterfly mode, and it wasn't just one butterfly. She literally was splicing herself, and it was like we mentioned in our first episode, I'm here. She's here.
I was physically
she was.
It's like having I think I was talking to another mom about this, about how and not to get off subject, but how we have if we say that our brains are computers, we have about 100 windows open. And it was at that point of my life in my early 20s, I had 100 windows open that I was trying to, trying to figure out. But it's also because you're coming into yourself. You're like, who am I?
Right.
What am I about? I know what my mom and dad raised me to be, but who is Nadira? What do I want to stand for? What do I want people to know me for?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think I had to experience all of that. I had to do it that unconventional way for me to,
and everybody's going to do, people take the long way home.
Yeah.
Sometimes necessarily, sometimes unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But what matters is that they get to that destination. They get there safely. They are whole when they reach that destination, and that they know where they're going next. That's what's important. So I say that so that people know everybody has their own path.
Yeah.
And she had her own path. And I had to kind of step back and remember that this is still my child.
Yeah.
But this is now my adult child.
Yes.
And we still
have moments, but it is, I think now, again, because we extend each other grace and understanding of the why, we're able to get through, and it's not passive aggressive or combative.
We've both had to learn how to change our mindset and a little bit of our character in order to better understand each other and what our end goals were in life, or what our just what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And so as a mom, as her mother, I had to say to myself, yeah, this is what I wanted for her. This is what I wish she would do. This is what I wanted to do. And I used to beat myself up about it because I had to remember, ultimately, it is going to be her life. It doesn't matter what religion I've taught her, what books I've given her to read to better herself, or what path I laid out for her.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's going to be her decision in the path that she takes and her outcome on life. Once adulthood sets in, parents are there as a fallback to an extent. But they're also there, again, to give that grace. To say, you know what, baby girl, you went from A to Z to F to G.
Dust yourself off and try it again.
You can just but you're in a good place.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And then to be able to say, she's good.
Yeah.
Let her do what she got to do.
That's also unconditional love.
It is.
That is the true definition of unconditional love.
Because if I had sat on that egg waiting for it to hatch.
Wait, what egg?
the egg of what I expected.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
That egg I sat on had all these. I expect I what?
You would still be sitting.
I'd be still sitting on it, still pissed off, still catching myself and remembering this is an adult, not my child anymore. You know,
I'm always your child.
No, you are, but you're now my adult child.
Yeah.
And
I think we did a pretty good job with touching base as far as our evolving relationship with adulthood. Up until what is it called? Motherhood?
Motherhood.
Because I mean, my motherhood started as I was COVID. Obviously, we already talked about that. But right before my 30th birthday.
Yes.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
Ooh. Yeah, but I mean, even when I got pregnant, I think that was a.
Speak on it.
I'm like, do you want me to be honest, like very transparent?
You can be honest because I'm going to be honest. You know that.
So, obviously, my son's father and I, like, you know, we were friends starting off, and my parents were aware of that we were friends first, for 2 years, and then, you know, we decided to be together, and then, the backstory of why I really wanted a child, I was grieving both my grandparents, and I didn't seek the help that I needed. And because I had lost them back to back, and being in New York, they were the reasons why I was there. Well, you know, my grandfather was. But
during that time, prior to Nadira becoming a mother, Nadira was our rock, because we were here. We were here in Texas, and all of our loved ones were in New York with her. Yeah. And so Nadira was literally hopping from grandparent to grandparent to great aunt.
Yes, Auntie
making
Libby.
Sure that everybody, and great aunts on both sides. Yeah. Grandparents on both sides. Yeah. Making sure everybody was okay. And
responsibility.
Nadira got the brunt of their loss.
Yeah, because I saw them every day. Like, they were in my everyday routine, my everyday, like, whether it was just talking on the phone with them. My grandfather lived a couple of blocks up from me, so I walked him back and forth home. You know what I mean? He was always at the brownstone or at the building where I lived. So, you know, I saw him every day and talked to them. So losing them, and then my aunt, she was my favorite aunt. So, you know, losing them, I think because I was the rock and I had to take on the responsibility of, like, coordinating, you know, their, I guess, life after death, so to say.
Life before
death too. The responsibility, it's like it wasn't time, like there was really no space for me to grieve, because I felt like I needed to be strong for my parents. They were losing their only living parent, you know what I mean, on both ends. My mom lost her mom, and then my dad was losing his dad. So, you know, I felt like as the oldest child, I had to step into that role to, like, really, like, liaison how things were going to move forward. And in doing so, I didn't allow myself the time to hold on.
Just realizing that. It's okay.
Hold on.
It's all right.
Hold on. I didn't allow myself the time to you know, just grieve and really just accept the fact that, like, hey, they're no longer here with you. And how do you move forward? How do you want to move forward? You know what I mean? And so, because I was just on go, 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 I'm in the city, I'm just like, I want something for myself. I want something that I know no one really has the capability to take away from me. And so, you know, being in love, I thought that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring a child into this world, not, you know, taking into consideration all that comes with creating a child and who you create the child with. So obviously our evolution of me starting motherhood, but also my mom, you know, knowing all of this, it wasn't very easy. It wasn't very, I'll say this, the initial news of letting my parents know that I was pregnant, dun, 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 I remember that day. Like, I remember that day. And obviously in the moment you want whoever you're telling that you're expecting to be happy. But giving the facts of my circumstances at that time, it probably wasn't the best time to be having a child. Especially with the world changing so many uncertainties. My parents couldn't. There wasn't a stable ground for me to, I guess, stand on to be able to, ensure that my child had the best opportunity for life.
And remember, this is still a time when she's kind of butterflying, and then she has the family, important family deaths.
Yeah.
And
the matriarch and patriarch.
Yes. And it was like, I understand hearing her say this now. I really understand even more why she felt the need to create a new life.
Yeah.
But as she was alluding to, it did not go over well with her father and I.
No.
I remember the phone call. Yeah, it was not. We were not thrilled.
No.
We were not thrilled at all. It was to the point where her sister called us and was like,
cussed them out.
Mom and Dad, are y'all serious right now? Bah, 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 bah. And in true Karima fashion, I said, listen, ma'am, you don't have anything to say about any of this. This is what I let my other daughter know. And I let her know that when the time comes, when it's right, because I knew you were hurt.
Yeah.
But I let her know that when the time comes, your father and I will speak to your sister, and we'll get past that.
And we did.
And
it just took a matter of me humbling myself and realizing that, okay, you made a big girl decision, and so you need to put your big girl panties on and accept the consequences or responsibilities of the decision that you made. And it hurts sometimes to not necessarily hear things that you want, but that's life, and that's a part of growing, and that's a part of accepting, a huge part of accepting motherhood, if that's what you choose to do. You know what I mean? And so I'm grateful. Would I change it? I don't know if I would change, necessarily how you responded, so to say. I think also because now it's the mature way of me understanding, again, why. Why did you respond in that way?
Right.
You know what I mean? Not you. It wasn't with ill intent. It wasn't
Not
with you trying to hurt my feelings, trying to belittle me or anything like that. It was solely like, you are my daughter. You are my oldest daughter. I care about you. I'm concerned, and I want you to make the right choices.
And I was sitting on that expectational egg again. I was.
Mother Goose.
I was, because I knew she had this relationship, but I knew my child was not stable. Yeah. I knew she was not stable. And that was the standpoint my husband and I were coming from, her dad and I were coming from. We were coming from a standpoint of, hey, as beautiful as it is that she's bringing life, she's not ready. She's not stable. She doesn't have all the things she needs to take on this endeavor. And I knew that coming from where I came from, and having her even younger than she had my grandson.
Yeah.
And I knew what it entailed for me at 21. And I had a little bit more stability.
Yeah.
Whereas at the time, you didn't.
Yeah.
You really didn't have that stability. And that's what bothered me, because in my mind, it might be a fairy tale thing, I don't know. In my mind, I was like, you know what? I wanted my daughters to find that man and have that income and have a roof over their head to call their own. And then, boom, you have a baby.
Yeah.
But I also, before I sat down and talked to her about it, I also had to say to myself, Reem, you didn't even do that. You didn't even do that.
Dun, dun,
so how dare you have put those expectations on your child, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't ask for another grandson to save my life. He is my world.
Shout out to MJ. World. I would shout my baby out every episode. I don't care.
MJ is my world. I wish it had been under better circumstances.
Yeah.
I wish it had been under better times.
Yeah.
And I wish it had been a better partner.
Yeah. I can't be mad at that. I legit can't be mad at that. I mean, again, it's accepting responsibility for the choice that I made, and understanding that this is, the result of it. But I am 100,000% grateful for my parents, because I don't know what I would do without you guys in raising MJ. You know what I mean? And really standing in and being my tribe and being everything that I need.
That's what we're supposed to do.
I mean, yes, but you'd be surprised in how much grandparents can be hands off nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially because, you know what I mean? Like,
throwing shade, don't we know?
So
major shade.
Come get her.
Yep. Judgmental and petty. I can be that. I will own up to it in a heartbeat. Anywho,
so with that being said, it is just a matter of, like I said, the peace comes with being able for me to hold myself accountable and know you made this decision, you made your bed, now lay in it. It's not the end of the world, but it is a new world, a new era for you. And you have to make the best of it. And so, yeah, once we got over that hump, there was a point when I was pregnant early on that my parents were like, so we have this friend that you can get on a train. And because again, COVID is happening. So you can't travel, and like there's limitations. We were in New York, in the city. So the city was shut down. There was no, because Texas, y'all were doing y'all thing.
Yeah,
y'all were not
that's
shut
why
down.
it was huge.
Like y'all were outside. Y'all were living your life like nothing was going on.
Not us.
And so, in New York, everything was shut down. Like you couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like I was barely going outside. Like I was barely going outside. You could barely see people outside. And so there was a point in time when my parents were on we have a friend that you can get on a train and bring your stuff. And I'm like, what am I going to do with all my stuff? Da, 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 and just thinking like, no, me and my partner, we're going to make this work, and da, 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 And so fast forward, I know that played a part in like, some of our, what is it called? I don't want to say not pushback, but some of our static when it came to me like visiting Texas with MJ, and then versus when we finally moved and relocated. But I think if we fast forward to, okay, I'm here, we moved to Texas and we're living with you and dad now. I think it became another growing, evolving moment or time for us, because now I'm back at home, I'm with my child, and I'm under their roof. And so, yes, we are giving you, it's like, yes, the door is open for you to come home because we want stability. We want you to get back on your feet. We want you to build up your life for you and MJ, but it's also, you're under my roof. And so that caused a conflict because, who really wants to, not saying who wants to, but as an adult, you are not trying to live under your parents' roof. You're not trying to follow their rules.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the thing, especially once you've already been out there.
Yeah. And I had been out for years. So to come back was
But the other thing
humbling.
too is, I think, and this is for all mothers and daughters, we'll speak about sons later on in our episode.
And fathers.
But
and we are not forgetting about
this is for mothers and daughters. I think when it comes down to it, there's only going to be one queen in the house.
Yeah.
And for us, I think some of that static was that she still wanted to acknowledge and wanted us to acknowledge the fact that she was an adult and a mother.
Yes.
And I think because she was so focused on that, that there were times when you forgot that, hey, I'm in my parents' home.
You're right. And that's what caused issues, because I wasn't being mindful and I don't want to say not respecting like boundaries that you set in place, because I feel like I was, but I think I wasn't comfortable with them. And it was just I wasn't comfortable. And I had to like humble myself and be like, hey, You need them right now.
Right.
So I get that you don't want to do X, Y, Z. You don't want to, but you don't have a choice right now.
And
so
right, and that's what I was gonna come off of, that comfortable part.
Yeah.
Because even now when we're good, but I notice it, her and her sister, baby, they come over here and they like, what you got in the refrigerator? What's in your medicine cabinet? What's in your makeup cabinet? In general. Mom, what's that? Can I use this brush? Can I have this brush? And
I think every kid
and
no.
I think they do. But when you're not going home and leaving,
that's different. It's annoying.
You have to stop. Anybody who moves back in with their parent has to remember, yes, I am an adult, but I have now come back into a space that I left.
Yes.
And my parents have started a new
era. Listen, they were doing the Jody's mama and
as my husband will say in a heartbeat.
Oh gosh.
Cock blocking.
Yeah, my dad is good.
That's his favorite word.
Period.
Y'all cock blocking. Period. I need y'all to go to your space and leave mine alone.
And so if you are an adult and you know anything about marriage and all that, you gotta respect it. Like, you can't be upset about that. You literally cannot, because just like you don't have to. You can leave.
Yep.
You don't have to be there. You don't have to be there,
and we don't have to have you there.
We don't. So. That was a huge transition for us, a huge, but I think it was our last, where we finally were like, okay, we need to get to the root of where our issues are coming from.
Because we had to blow up. We had to blow up, blow out, blow under,
shout out to Ray.
All over.
Shout out to Ray, my good sis Ray, because MO, I love you. I love y'all. I love y'all forever. And Shakima and Eden, because y'all, my tribe of sisters, I just want to say I thank you and I love you, because y'all were there for me when I needed you, period. And they're really there for MJ when you knew that I needed the help, and I appreciate y'all. Ultimately, I mean, I think the way everything played out, it needed to happen that way for both of us, because it was a learning curve for both of us, because this is not something we've experienced before. Mm-hmm. It's not like you have another older daughter who, you know what I mean? Where or a reference, and then you think about your own dynamic with your own mom. This is nothing similar. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
and it was the whole other side of the spectrum.
Yes.
It was totally different from when it was her and I for a while when she was young.
Yes.
To where it was World War VII.
We was geared up in this mother lover.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll tune into that later. Definitely talk about that later, because that child. But yeah, definitely. So let me ask you this: how do you feel now with the evolution of our relationship?
Oh, I'm very happy. We still have our trying times, but that's because we are adults and not just mom and daughter.
Yeah.
Because we're women and we're mothers.
Yes.
And I'm, even with the strife that we had at times when you were living with us,
mm-hmm.
It was a blessing for me to have that, because I think of my situation,
mm-hmm.
which, I think about my situation and how there was a short time when I had my grandmother there.
Okay.
And then I didn't.
Yeah.
And I loved waking up knowing my grandson was there.
Yeah.
And I loved knowing my daughter was there, even with all that.
But we all know the grandparents do not care about their kids once you have a grandchild.
What'd you say? You just that slice of bread.
I'm the end slice of bread. Nobody. You like, dang, I guess I'll make a sandwich with you.
Make some bread pudding, maybe.
Exactly. Who eats that? Like, come on.
I do.
No.
Anyway, so I was happy that I was able to be there in MJ's young life.
Mm.
That was a lot of young.
young life. Technically, it was appropriate because he's about to be 5.
Okay.
So shout out to you.
So I was really happy to be able to have that. It was just I didn't want that turmoil, and
Yeah.
and again, sitting on that egg expectation. I like how
I
put
really
that.
like how you did that. Clock that.
Anyway, it was. I had to remember this is her child.
Yeah.
And there were times when I was like, oh, I just wish she gets some patience. There were times when I did have to be like, yo, you butterflying, and you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that because that's your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times when she was forthwith and taking it all in and realizing, you're right, Ma. And then there were other times when, though you may not have said it, knowing my child and your defiance, it showed that you was like defiance.
I'm not defiant.
It showed in her
Body language?
the body language, the way she would speak or not speak. I knew she was
'Cause
a
I'ma
little
definitely
bit
shut down.
angry because I might have said to her, "Don't do that to him," or "Get this up," and "Don't do that. Don't let him do this." Don't. And I know you thought I was nitpicking, but ultimately,
it's your house.
When it was my house, but even not even looking at that, but ultimately, when you realize, hey, I think I better understand what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because now look at MJ gets his food and he sits down.
Everything that you have taught and said, it is never not for no reason. Like there's always a reason behind it. You always have, you know what I mean? There's a bigger message behind it. So I'm forever grateful for that.
Just let's say I'm not the parent who says because I said so. Anyway, I am not that parent.
No, you're not.
I'm not. Your dad is.
I'm like, petty. She's petty. Dad, we can't wait to have you on the show. We cannot wait to have you on the show so you can get her because she's calling you out.
I'm calling him out. Anyway.
Dog.
But yeah.
So you are happy with the evolution of where we are now.
Oh, most definitely.
We have come a long way.
She's still, we call her the intrusive child.
Because I love you guys.
She still can be intrusive, but she's so much better and more receptive to when we be like, you being intrusive. She'd be like, I am. And then
but you also have to look at the dynamic. I'm the oldest child. So to go from like always being needed to, wait, you guys don't need me? You only want NJ? What about me? So it's like, I don't need to be intrusive. And obviously now because I'm in my own space.
Yeah.
So
you like,
I'm really like, don't come up in here with that.
You're being intrusive.
Or like, if I come over and y'all on y'all energy not right, we're going home. See you later. Quick to chunk the deuce. But I'm definitely happy with where our relationship is. I'm so happy that we have come over so many humps.
How are you feeling about motherhood?
That's a solid question. I love it.
Don't say it's ghetto.
I'm not. No, in this one, no, I'm not going to say it's ghetto. I love motherhood. I am going to say, and I'm saying this because I just read something the other day, and it was talking about, not to get off topic, talking about the dynamic of like a single mother, and mothering, and the quality of life that a single mom affords their child is based off of her true happiness in self. And so I thought about that and I was like, the quality of my life and where I'm at and how I feel. And I think the only thing that I constantly, or I know the only thing that I constantly beat myself up about with motherhood is the fact that I'm not doing it with his father. Just because I just never saw myself doing. I never saw myself being a parent,
a single parent.
I just never saw that for myself, And granted, I'm doing the best that I can, but it's still just like it's always a question of, is it enough? And so I feel like I try to overcompensate in some ways for MJ.
I don't think you do, but go ahead.
I appreciate you for saying you don't, but this is like what I think of. Yeah, this is what I think about it as far as like motherhood, because I look at you and I look at how you have dad and just off of like little things, like choosing schools for us, choosing activities for us, and it's just all on me. And sometimes, like, yeah, it just, that part of it makes me really sad.
Oh, don't be sad about it.
That part.
Don't be
But
sad
I love
about
motherhood. I'm so grateful Allah blessed me with the child that I have.
Yeah.
Because you know what? God, you did your big one. Because me being a single mom and having a daughter, no.
That she would have been over here.
Yeah.
I would have just said,
what?
You can go to dropping it off.
No.
Remember they have all those little things on TikTok and Instagram where the girl was like, I can't do this. Take them. And the mama was like, what?
Yeah, no, I would be doing that. Don't get me wrong. MJ be beating me up. Like, being a boy mom is extreme sometimes. Like, your level of like, like, can you just sit down, please?
Yeah,
but you still, but ultimately, I know that I'm still growing. I know that I'm in a space where this is not the end of my journey, the end of my story. But like I said, time and time again, I'm forever grateful for you guys. And I don't know how I would be managing motherhood or navigating through motherhood. I always tell Shakima, just keep swimming, because that's really all you can do. Like, if you're not drowning, like, just try to keep your head above water and just keep swimming. Yeah. All right. Enough talking about me. We need to tap into mommy. So we're going to tap into, yes, we need to hear, because I feel like they know the dynamic of me and, my bumps, but they need to know the core.
Oh, Lord.
They need to know the core, honey. So we're going to get into it.